Hey y'all, today I'm filming kind of a check-in-ish video. It's like the closest thing to a check-in since last year. I used to film monthly official check-ins on my channel, but I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just checking in when it feels organic and when I feel like doing it. And that's now. I'm going to be checking in about how my mini no-buy is going. Because of how I decided to structure my beauty budget this year, I'm on a mini no-buy. It's basically from the second week in January through to the very end of March. And then at the beginning of April, I'll be spending another little budget that I decide on then. I'll talk more about that structure when I kind of brief you on the overall structure of my yearly project for myself with budgeting after we move into the meat of the video. For now, I'll just tell you that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna let you know how it's been for me. And this is very check-in-y in that it's kind of messy. Like I'm doing that thing where I try to report back to you about the experiment that I'm conducting on myself from the middle of the experiment. So I'm trying to be both subject and reporter at the same time. I'm capable of doing that to some degree, but it's never a perfect science. And so these videos are always a little bit roundabout and messy, but that is in some ways what makes them good to film and good to watch. It's going to be one of those. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. This is like a quintessential Louise Poston video. I love beautiful things, but I'm prone to overspend on them. So I'm trying to find balance, and I do it this way. I do it by deciding that I'm going to do things a certain way and then following that path for a while and seeing where it takes me both logistically and emotionally. So if balanced beauty content, thoughtful beauty content sounds good to you, please subscribe. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of this meaty video. I'm wearing lip gloss and I really like how it is, but I'm worried it's going to make my lips stick together. And that's not always great for sound. Also, I feel not great today. I feel a little bit sick. I'm like, I can't tell whether it's like a real thing that's coming on or if it's just the barometric pressure. Okay, quick debrief about, quick rundown, very quick, because I think most of you already know. Quick rundown of how I'm structuring my beauty spending this year. Every 3 months, I'm giving myself a week in which to shop for beautiful things. And then in between, for the entire rest of the 3 months in between, so between the end of the first week of January right now and the first week of April, I'm on a no-buy. So I'm not letting myself shop for beautiful things during those 3 months. And these are the sort of other rules around it. Replacements are technically allowed, although I haven't been wanting to indulge in that. I haven't been wanting to replace my stuff. What I mean by replacements is like if I run out of a staple item that I use, that I depend on just for general upkeep, like shampoo is the classic example. If I run out of shampoo entirely in the middle of the 3-month no-buy, I could buy one shampoo, but I can't go buying like another bottle of shampoo that I'm interested in trying because it just released and it looks great and I like the packaging when I have half a bottle of shampoo left, even though shampoo is technically a replacement type item. It's only if it's a replacing purchase that it's sanctioned. That's allowed by my rules, but again, I haven't been doing it and I'll get into that a little later in the video because it's relevant to the contents of the video. I have 2 other exceptions that I haven't told you guys about. I realized I sort of had decided on them for myself. I think it's partly because this way of structuring my budget, it's not my YouTube project for the year. It's just what I'm doing. It's like, I'm really just doing it for myself so that I will have a healthy relationship with shopping and I will keep my own finances healthy. And I'm just talking about it on YouTube. Previously, in previous years, it was like my YouTube project and my personal project. So I felt like I really had to make sure that I reported back about every little thing on YouTube all the time. That's not how I'm doing it this year. And that's why I haven't managed to bring these couple of things into a video until now. But I am allowing myself to buy books during these no-buy periods. Books are pretty important. Paper books, I've realized, are actually pretty important to my mental health. And I don't buy them in a way that's not practical. So what I mean by that is that I buy a book when I intend to read it. I actually buy books relatively frequently. Like I have already bought some books this year and I'll probably consistently buy books. But what I do is I buy them when I want to read them, and then I don't buy another book until I've read the one that I bought. Or sometimes I'll buy 3 at a time. Like I've been making my way through P.D. James's Oeuvre. I really love P.D. James. I've been reading her books. I'm reading her entire, I guess she only ever published 22 books. I intend to read them all one after another. So I purchased the first 3 in the Adam Dalgliesh series, and then I read them all, and then I purchased the next 3. So sometimes I go in 3s, just for full transparency, total honesty. It's not always just one at a time. But, I'm not out here buying books because it makes me feel better about myself and surrounding myself with them and never reading them. If I had that kind of problematic relationship with the purchase of books, I would consider including them in my no-buy and really like trying to refashion my relationship with them. But I don't think I have a problem with the way that I purchase books right now. It's fine in terms of my finances. It's fine in terms of how much I'm buying and how much I have. So I'm buying books during my no-buy season, And then the last thing, this is maybe of more interest to some of you. I did decide on 3 exceptions at the very beginning of the year because in January, when I was in my little shopping week, there were 3 things that I was like, I would buy these things if they were available now. 3 things that I was like, ooh, I really wish. When I was thinking about what I wanted, I was like, I really wish I could buy this. I really wish I could buy this other thing. And I really wish I could buy this 3rd thing. And those are like the things that I really want to spend my budget on this year. But none of the 3 were available at the time. 2, because they are used items and I'm looking for them on the resale market and they weren't available on the resale market. I couldn't find them. And 1, because it was out of stock and the company was restocking. So I decided to let those be exceptions in that when they come back in stock or when I find one on the resale market, even if it's in the in-between times, I'll let myself buy them. Obviously, there's a caveat with the secondhand things. They have to be affordable to me. You know what I mean? They have to be on the resale market, each at a price that I feel like is reasonable. I'm not like allowing myself to go out and spend $200 on that t-shirt I've always wanted if I happen to find it. And I've also decided that if they end up adding up to a lot of money, like if I find these things, these secondhand things that I want, and it's affordable to me, but it's kind of a lot, I might consider taking that out of my April budget if it's between now and April, or I might consider just like making my April budget a little bit smaller. Because I'm going to be deciding on my April budget in April, I don't have to decide now, because if I do buy, say that the t-shirt, again, that I'm like watching the secondhand market for, it comes back in stock, but it's kind of expensive. I buy it. Then we get to April and I'm looking at my bank account and I'm like, oh, it doesn't have as much in it as I would like for it to. And that's because I bought that thing. That will affect my decision-making around how much I allow myself to spend in April. So when I decided to make those 3 allowances for myself, I also decided that they would be the only 3 for the year. I was like, I'm not going to go on like thinking of things and making allowances and have allowances like scattered through all of the no-buy seasons. No, I was like, I'm here at the beginning of the year and I'm going to give myself these 3 passes for these 3 specific things. And then that's going to be it. So that's the other facet of like my particular little set of rules that I've set for myself for this exact no-buy project. I said that I was going to do this briefly, but I feel like I've been going on and on. But there were things I needed to tell you, the books, the 3 exceptions, etc. That's pretty much the picture of the thing though. And so it's basically seasonal spending is what some people call it. It's like a feast and famine model. If you back up from my exact specific rules, which matter way less to, this video, frankly, because it's like, that's just what works for me in my life. And as I'll get into in this video, my life is affected by a bunch of specific circumstances when it comes to stuff and spending. But if you back up from it and you just like, look at what I'm doing, it's a feast or famine budgeting model. It's like a seasonal spending budgeting model. And I already filmed a video. So my first little shopping week was at the beginning of January. I already filmed a video about all the things I decided to buy, and I did sort of briefly touch on how it's been going to be on a no-buy in that video. And what I said in that video is what I'll say right now. In short, it's going very well. And the short story is that this feast or famine model for shopping for me is it's suiting me. It's really suiting me so far. I'm optimistic about how far it will go for me. But it's not like it's all sunshine and roses. Anyone who really loves beautiful things and who spends time on the internet and who is trying not to buy anything or who's on a no buy is going to run up against those moments of desire. And I am, of course, running up against those moments of desire, and I am having to talk myself down from the ledge. But for the most part, and this is kind of like my first note on my list of notes, I have my list of notes here. For the most part, I'm not really thinking too much about stuff most of the time, and this is really great. I haven't really started thinking about what I might buy in April, although there is one thing, and I'll get to it in a second, that I want for my birthday, and that if I don't receive it as a gift for my birthday at the end of February, I may or may not make it part of what I budget for in April. So there's one thing that I've been thinking about considering buying. But apart from that, I'm not over here making a list of the things that I'm definitely going to buy when my next season comes around. It feels like it's really far in the future, and it would just be a fool's errand to start making plans for that for now. So I feel like I am in an in-between time, in between the anxiety, which I feel is a funny way of saying it because I do love shopping. And I do love beautiful things. So it's a positive anxiety. It's stress, but it's not distress. It's eustress, but it's still stress. And I do feel released by being very much in between times of doing that kind of thinking. I have come across some things when browsing online or when looking on Instagram, getting targeted by Instagram ads. I've come across some things that I immediately and desperately wanted with that sort of sweaty palms, heart double beating feeling. What I've been doing is just putting those things on my online wish list and then forgetting about them. And I've found, as is almost always true, and this is a lesson that I learned back during my no-buy year in 2018. And I forgot to say in the opening that I did a no-buy year in 2018 and then a budget in 2019 and then another budget in 2020. Everyone I feel knows that at this point. If this is your first time watching me and you didn't know that, that's the deal, right? I did a big, long no-buy year initially to break myself of a really bad habit of constantly shopping and overspending. And I've been navigating towards balance since then. And this way of spending, this seasonal budgeting is just another try at finding balance, another phase of that navigation. One of the things I learned during my no-buy year is that putting a thing that you really want, especially if you've just discovered it and you're having that heart double beating feeling, if you put it in your digital wish list or your online wish list, instead of putting it in your shopping cart and buying it right away, it often doesn't age well, on the wish list. So you come back and visit it a week later and you're I don't even remember wanting this, or I can't even, why did I put this on here? Or sometimes a week later you come back and you're oh yeah, hey, cute thing on my wish list. You're still cute, but I'm really glad I didn't buy you because you would have been expensive and I didn't even remember you until I just saw you again. It's very effective. And so that is a thing that I discovered during my no-buy year. It was a whole thing. And I've been doing that still during this mini no-buy, and I've been doing it just much more casually. I just am so familiar with this cycle. I see a thing, I really want it. It's exorbitantly expensive. It's a little bit impractical. Or even if it is practical and not expensive, I'm on a no-buy. I know I'm not going to buy it. So I put it on my wish list. A couple days later, I put something else on my wish list. And a couple days later, I put something else. And then a week later, I'm I wonder what's on my wish list. Can't really remember. And I go and I click through and I look at it. I use this online wish list called Wishlister. I've been using it for years. My family uses it for birthdays and holidays and stuff. I go and I look on the wish list and I'm look at all these things I thought I wanted. And now, my birthday is around the corner. So there's a chance that my family members are actually going to look on the wish list and see what's on there. So I found myself just frantically removing things from it because I'm I didn't really want that. I just put it on there in a moment of panic. Please don't buy that for me, which is really, really showing how false those initial feelings of desire really were, because not only do I not want to buy it, I don't want anyone else to buy it for me either. So I'm doing that. It's one of the things on my notes, one of the things on my list of notes to tell you. I've been putting things on my wish list. It's such an effective strategy. It's really been showing me how fickle I am once again. But all of this is old news to me, right? I've been here before. And the other thing that I wanted to tell you about, the next thing on the list, and this is something I indicated in that other video, is that I have been really loath to push against the no buy. I really want to like keep it as intact as possible. And even though replacements are sanctioned, part of that for me has meant seeing how long I can go without replacing something, even if I think that I depend on it and I would have thought that I would have wanted to replace it right away. The no-buy is making me want to just wait it out with replacements and just live, just live with what I have and just live with it. So the quintessential item is my green color corrector, which is one of my most used makeup items, just like a good, pretty intensely green corrector to neutralize the redness on my skin. I tend to use it in conjunction with concealer, even more than concealer, because I would rather just neutralize redness than cover up my skin. So it's something that I use every day when I do my makeup, and I have for years, and I've tried a number of different green color correctors. I love the one from the Sephora collection. As soon as I ran out of that, I would replace it right away because I'd be like, I can't do my makeup without this, you know? So I ran out of my green color corrector a couple of weeks into the year, and my first impulse was to be like, I'm gonna replace this. I can't do my makeup without it. But then I was like, oh, but if I replace it, that means I have to place an order from Sephora. And I just don't feel like placing an order from Sephora during my no-buy because I'm really enjoying the feeling of not shopping online, not placing orders. I like how settled, it's like all the sand has settled to the bottom and the water is clear. And even if I am replacing it because it's sanctioned, even if it's not a breaking of my rules, it would still it would be like a stirring up of a little whirlwind of sand, you know, to replace that thing. And I just would rather not. So I haven't replaced it yet. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll get sick of not having it and I'll do it before April. But for the time being, I haven't. And so it's teaching me a thing. That's another thing that I remember learning during my no-buy year. It's like reteaching me how okay you are without the things that you think that you need, especially when it's a whole bunch of little steps, like in your skincare routine, or a whole bunch of little steps in your makeup routine. One little step gets removed and we tend to be like, I've got to spend the $15, I've got to spend the $30, I have to fill it right away. But really you don't, and I really don't, and it's okay, and I'm okay. And whether I replace the color corrector before April or not, I'm really enjoying the feeling of like sitting back with that lesson again, an inheritance of my no-buy year, something that I recognize. So it's not the first time I'm learning it, but it's really lovely to be reminded of it in such a practical way. The next line item in my notes is that it's my birthday. By the time this video goes up, it'll probably be in like a week. It's February 27th, it's at the end of February. And it's interesting to have a birthday come in the middle of a no-buy season. It affects it in a number of different ways. So one of the things that's going on with my birthday coming up right now for me is that I've been trying to think of things to put on my wish list. Like I was just talking about how I've been like weeding things off of my wish list that I put on there instead of buying, but that I don't actually want. But it also goes the other way, right? My family's like, what do you want for your birthday? And so I'm like, oh, well, I'll put some things on my wish list. So I've been like going to my wish list and being like, what do I want to put on here? Like what do I want people to know that I kind of want, given that my birthday is around the corner? And it's weirdly been harder than I would have thought to do that. I feel like I just went shopping, even though it was the first week of January, and we're currently well past the first week of February. I still kind of feel like I just went shopping and I just had the opportunity to get myself anything I'd been longing for. And so it's been harder than it usually is for me to think of things to put on my birthday wish list. And I don't know if that's because of the seasonal shopping or because of just what a weird year it is. It could be due to any number of things, or it's a combination of things. It's just what's happening. The practical thing that I really want, that I'm sort of considering buying for myself if I don't receive it for my birthday, is this. It's a portable, tiles of a portable dance floor. So I don't know, I haven't talked about this in a long time, so there might be some of you who are new who don't know that I spent my entire decade of my 20s becoming a dancer of Argentine tango. I started studying it at the beginning of my 20s, and I really dedicated my 20s to the study of that dance. And I still am a tango dancer. I haven't been dancing very much this year. Obviously, it's a social dance, and so tango isn't really happening worldwide right now. Joe is also a tango dancer, but we don't really dance together very much, even though there was a little bit of space in our old apartment. I did do some drills when we were still living there. I did do some drills during quarantine, but weirdly, in spite of the fact that the house we currently live in has way more rooms than our studio apartment in downtown LA, there isn't really a floor space that's big enough for practicing tango, especially not one that has a floor surface that would work, like a surface of the floor that you could pivot on. And definitely not one that's big enough for the two of us to practice dance together. So it was fine for a while, but I've just been really missing tango lately. I've been really like itching to dance, really, and feeling kind of blocked up inside and really missing like being in touch with my body in that way. And a couple of weeks ago, when I was really in the throes of feeling that way, I started looking for portable dance floors to see if there are any out there that are even at all viable. And my research turned one up that would work. It's like tiles and they snap together and it looks pretty decent. And there's actually an outdoor space where we would be able to put it down. The weather's so nice here that that's totally doable. And then I could just take it apart and store it in the garage when I wasn't using it. I don't think there's a place inside that's big enough to put it down, but there's a place outside. So I'm imagining myself getting this portable dance floor. To get the number of tiles that I would need, it's maybe like $150 to $200. I really, really want that. And it's pretty much the main thing that I'm kind of like hoping somebody will get for me for my birthday. And if not, I can probably wait until April. And then I'll have to decide whether that's really a beauty budget thing or if it's something that we as like a household could get, Joe and I as a household, like something we might use in the future. I don't really know. I'm kind of trying to hold these things lightly right now. I'll decide at some point, but for now, it is on my birthday wish list. And it's something that I feel confident I'm happy having on my birthday wish list. And it's something that I'm kind of thinking ahead that I might buy for myself with my budget, maybe in the future. But yeah, like overall, I have it actually on the list. It's funny because I just said I'm holding these things with more lightness. That was just off the top of my head. But then the next thing on my list is me saying overall, I have more lightness around these things. That's definitely been like a marked characteristic of the way that I'm budgeting and the way that I'm thinking about spending on myself this year. So the next things that I have to talk about are just behavioral. I want to let you know kind of how I've been acting with regards to shopping, like in relation to stuff and shopping and wish listing. I have indicated a little bit, right? Like I wanted a portable dance floor, so I did some research. Like that's shopping behavior. That was me sitting there like clicking, searching, clicking, reading reviews, thinking about packages coming in the mail, thinking about money. You know what I mean? Like that was shopping behavior. So I have been engaging some in that. And I have found myself doing a little bit of browsing to take like a brain break from work. Sometimes I'll be browsing Instagram. I actually do think that it's healthy to take a break. I don't just think this. This is like science, right? If you work long hours at a computer like I do, either writing, not if you do this, but oh my gosh, my sentence just flew to the moon and it was like, I live here now. If you work long hours at a computer, especially, or stationary at a desk like I do, the way that what I do that causes me to work long hours is that I'm either writing, grant writing, or editing. I spend so much time, y'all, editing YouTube videos, and I can get sucked in, and it's like hours and hours and hours. When you do that, you pass a threshold, and after that threshold, you're a less effective worker. You're making less good decisions. Your brain isn't working as well if you haven't yet had a break. So I really know this from, at this point, a lifetime, a nearly 36-year-long lifetime of doing this kind of work, like writing work, computer work, sitting, super focused work. Every hour, hour and a half, I think there's science out there about exactly when you're supposed to take your break, but I've heard competing things, so I just kind of do it instinctively. But, it's good to take a break and just do anything that's not your work. Give your brain a break for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I tend to work even when I was sewing tango clothes, like even when that was my work, I was on my feet, I was moving around, it was physical and creative. Even that, I found it was really important for me every hour and a half to just take a break, sit down, and like zonk out my brain on some stupid mindless stuff. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes, and then I'd get back to work. So I've been doing that for years. I've been working that way, taking those kinds of breaks for years. And shopping, window shopping, thinking about what I might buy, poking around, looking on Instagram sometimes, and then sometimes coming across ads and clicking through and investigating this new brand I've never heard of. That is like a really good way for my brain to take a break. Like this is part of why I became so enthralled with shopping to begin with. It's hard for me to turn my brain off. So sometimes I don't know, sometimes just like watching something, like watching a YouTube video or something, like doesn't really allow me to disengage from my hamster wheel because I can multitask in my brain. But if I do something that's sort of active, like shopping, like clicking around and looking at stuff, pursuing information, like looking at the pictures and thinking about how I might wear the thing or how I might use it, it engages more of my brain and it allows more of my brain to disengage from my work. And so it allows me to kind of take a breather. And I actually don't think, when I put good in quotation marks because, shopping has a good side and a dark side. So it's not like it's healthy. It's not like it's always healthy. When I say it's a good way for me to take a brain break because it's very, very, very effective for me. And I haven't in my personal life decided that it's so unhealthy as to be something that I need to stop doing. Like I'm not actively trying to keep myself ever from like browsing shops or browsing on Instagram or anything like that. It's fine for me. It's sanctioned for me to do that kind of window shopping as a way of taking a brain break, as long as it's not turning into hours and hours of every week that I spend browsing, and as long as it's not having a detrimental effect on my finances, as long as it's not causing me to buy a bunch of stuff. So now during this 3-month no buy, what's been happening is I've been sometimes, not every time, but sometimes taking a brain break and using that brain break shopping, or using shopping to take the break to give my brain a little relief. I've been doing that sometimes, but it's never, ever leading to a purchase. Buying a thing is never, ever the outcome. I just wanted to let you know that just because I'm on a no buy doesn't mean that I'm never on Sephora's website. It just means that I'm never making a purchase from Sephora's website. I do have it on my list, though, to mention that I'm doing way, way less of that shopping as a way of giving my brain a little relief than I would be if it weren't for the thing that my sister sent to Joe and me as a Christmas gift. And the reason I haven't mentioned it before now is that it didn't arrive until the very end of January. She sent it at the end of December, and it took the package over a month to arrive because the mail system has been so clogged up in the United States, especially I think mail going east to west and like getting out of the snowstorms that happened around New Year's. But it arrived finally just, a couple of weeks ago. We opened it and inside was a Nintendo Switch, which is something that I didn't know I wanted. Like I've never been over here like, wow, it would be really great to have a Nintendo Switch. I didn't even know what one was. Like I didn't know what one looked like. I'm not really a video game person. Joe did though, and he was really excited. He knew to be more excited than I knew to be. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Like I was really excited that Joe was really excited. And it's so sweet. It's like a really lovely, nice gift. And I know that my sister really loves hers and she and her partner really love playing it. And so I was like, okay, great. Like bring it on. Like, let's see what this will be like to have. And the game came with Animal Crossing on it. And specifically, she got it for us to play Animal Crossing, I think. Like, Animal Crossing was part of the package. And I didn't know, you guys. I didn't know what Animal Crossing was. I knew that Ellie liked to play it. I knew that it was a thing that was really popular during the pandemic because people were finding it very absorbing and a way to have like a relief from all of the craziness and panic. And I knew that there was raccoon, and I knew that there were animals. Like I didn't know anything, but I love it. I love it. We've been playing it and it's everything they say and more. You know, I'm not one to spend like hours of my life every day. I'm not a big video gamer. I've sort of tried because I know that it does have the relaxing potential and the brain break potential of shopping. And it's better than shopping in that you don't end up then making a purchase at the end, you know? So I have kind of tried, like I tried to get into playing Breath of the Wild, the Zelda game, which Joe loves and my sister really loves, like, and I understand the appeal. Like I did spend some time playing it, but after a while, I kind of just fell off the wagon. After a while, it's just kind of like, I'm fine. I don't need to keep doing that. But Animal Crossing has really got me. There's something about it. You just want to like pick the peaches and eat the peaches. I should not go into like poetic reveries about Animal Crossing right now because I am making a video right now about something else. Maybe I'll talk about it in a different video. Like, you know what I'll do? I'll talk about it in a what's cheering me up right now. I'll try to get my thoughts in order about why I like Animal Crossing, and I'll report back to you in a more organized fashion in an upcoming video about what's cheering me up right now. I'm touching on it now only to say that what I've been doing lately is when I need a brain break, I've been like playing Animal Crossing for 15 or 20 minutes instead of browsing on the internet. And say what you will about video games or Animal Crossing, it has meant that I've been spending less time engaging in shopping behaviors. And, you know, that's kind of good. It's better for me specifically. You know, it's way better for me. And the other thing that I've been doing is reading paper books at night as I fall asleep instead of looking on my phone. And that means that I'm not like plugged into Instagram during that last half hour before I fall asleep. And so Instagram has way few opportunities to show me ads. So I'm also engaging in way less shopping behavior because of making sure that I'm reading in the evenings. So all of this has added up to mean that I'm spending way less time looking for something to want. I'm absolutely not buying anything. I have been tempted to buy a couple of things, but I've just wish listed them and then the desire has faded. Overall, it has been a really quite painless no-buy experience, like a really, really relatively painless and much easier no-buy than the beginning of the no-buy that I went on back in 2018, that's the last time that I was on an official no-buy, was in 2018. This is the second time that I've gone on an official no-buy for its own sake, rather than just being on a tacit no-buy because I had spent my whole budget, which I have gone through a couple of times since then. But compared to the beginning of 2018, when I was like, I'm now on an official no-buy, the beginning of this 3 months, the first half of this 3 months has been a piece of cake. And so that's the first half of the video, what I just told you. That's like how it's been going and some information about how it's been going. The second half of the video, I think I want to tell you why I think it's been easier. Because really it's been measurably easier, like way easier. And there are a number of reasons, all kind of different. Like there's a whole plethora of different reasons, and each one of them is contributing to how much easier this no-buy is than my first one was. And I've written them all down and I'm going to go through them one by one. The first one is that my original no-buy year made me much stronger at this. I have a lot of muscle memories, and I've kind of been indicating that as I've gone through the video because I talked about how I like remember how effective it is to wish list something and then revisit it. It occurs to me that I was really uncomfortable at the beginning of my no-buy in 2018 with the state of wanting something and not having it, like not being able to have it. It's crazy to me to remember that, remembering back to how uncomfortable it was and how long it took me to get used to wanting and not having. I was like digging out a little burrow for myself in the feeling of wanting and not having and making it my home. And that was part of how I caused myself to mature during my no-buy year. And now I'm really comfortable with wanting and not having. The things that I've stumbled across, the red shearling slippers, the weird ribbed loungewear, the face mask that really plumps the skin, like all of the things I've stumbled across when browsing that I've wish listed, I wanted them very badly in the moment. And that feeling didn't trouble me, even though I knew that I was unlikely ever to acquire them, that I definitely wasn't going to buy them. It just feels like one one of the many okay places to be. Whereas going into my no buy year in 2018, that feeling of wanting but being blocked from buying or owning or pursuing a thing, it was very uncomfortable. And that discomfort was what had led me to buy so much stuff that I shouldn't have been buying and spend so much money and get in credit card debt and spiritual debt and all of it. The mental pathways, the loops, the ups and downs that I'm going through right now, they're well worn. They're old friends, so they're not uncomfortable. And that's just making the whole experience easier. Another thing on the list of reasons why this is easier, the above indicated habits, right? Having the video games to play, reading, making sure that I'm reading in the evenings, having the books to read, which I was during my no buy year going to the library. I learned that if I made sure to acquire a lot of paper books during my no buy year, I wasn't allowing myself to buy books. So I was going to the library. I would love to still be going to the library right now, but we're trying to be as cautious as possible about COVID. And again, I'm doing okay with the way that I'm buying books. Another reason that I feel like this is easier, or that I've been kind of having an easier time of it lately, is that the recent shopping season at the beginning of January, it feels like it wasn't that long ago. It's really been lingering. And so it's sort of comparable to the way that the first month of my no buy year in 2018 wasn't quite as hard as it then got later on, because I had the stuff that I had panic bought at the end of 2017. Some of it was kind of still coming in the mail. And then once it was all there, it was still new. So it wasn't until I got into February and then maybe into March that I started to really feel the effects. The desert of the rest of the no buy was stretching out ahead of me in my no buy year. And at the end of February was my birthday, right? So the effect of having just purchased things at the beginning of January and then having my birthday coming up, it feels much looser. It doesn't feel so stark as the midway part of my no buy year was. And I don't know if that's just because it's just the beginning of the year, or because of how this particular shopping season went, or because of my birthday, or what. I don't know if it's circumstantial to this 3 months, or if that will always be true. I'm looking forward to seeing how the months after my April shopping season go, and if they feel sort of starker because my birthday isn't there, or if those entire 3 months will be made easier by the fact that I bought stuff at the beginning of April. And then after July, those entire 3 months will be easy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's just easier if the no buys are shorter, and if you had a shopping season that was at the most 3 months ago, sort of in your recent memory, that makes it easier. I'm not totally sure, but I do know that for me, it feels like it just happened. And so the acquisition of those handful of beautiful things that I so carefully chose, the lovely feelings around that, the enjoyment of that is really lingering. It's really weaving itself through this month. It wove itself through January. It's continuing to linger through February. I almost wore the headband that I got for this video, and when I put it on to see how it looked with this shirt, didn't look that great, so I decided not to do it. Actually, maybe it was something in my hair. The point is, when I put it on, I was it felt like it was brand new, and it kind of is brand new. So that must be part of what's making it easier. My upcoming birthday and the potential to receive gifts for my upcoming birthday, that's on the list. That is likely something that's making it easier, although, as I said, I'm sort of having trouble getting together enough passionate desire for stuff to put it all over my birthday wish list, but it is exciting. One of the reasons that I used to overspend was because I was trying to create excitement and a feeling of specialness and a feeling of celebration and a feeling of a treat. I was trying to create that for myself all the time because I was worried about what my life would be without it. And a birthday, whether you're receiving gifts or not, it often kind of creates that feeling around it. It's something to look forward to. It's a day of celebration, of specialness, of treats. And so it's sort of like this oasis in the desert of the 3 months. I'm sure that it's helping make it easier. The pandemic, this is interesting. I think a lot of people are struggling with the desire to spend out of boredom or frustration because of the pandemic. I have weirdly been experiencing this sense that my life, so much of the flow of the life I expected to be living is on hold, that it doesn't feel weird to have other things like spending or acquiring beautiful things also be on hold right now. It's like I'm waiting for so much to resume or to happen or to pass. So much is being waited for that my muscle of waiting feels very strong. And it feels like it's nothing to just tack on waiting until April to buy my color corrector to this just life of waiting. And I don't know, you guys, I'll actually be really interested to know if anyone out there is having a similar experience. I've heard a lot of conflicting things about how people feel like this time is affecting their shopping behavior or their struggle with shopping, if it's something you struggle with. I'm curious to know if anyone out there is also having this feeling that it's like emotionally easier to accept deprivation or to accept waiting or delay because so much is delayed right now. Because I know there are a lot of people who are kind of having the opposite experience. And the last one on the list is kind of an obvious one, maybe a big one for some of you guys. I didn't receive PR during my no-buy year, right? At the beginning of my no-buy year, I had just started my YouTube channel. So there's nobody out there, no brands were trying to send me stuff to review on my channel because it just started. And as the year wore on and my channel grew, brands started offering to send me stuff, and I said no to all of it until the end of the no-buy. So this is my first no-buy that's augmented by PR. So that definitely makes this a different experience in certain key ways than my no-buy year was. And I am going to take a minute here just to talk a little bit about this, because I did make a whole video about it at one point, but I get a lot of questions about it. And it's something I've been thinking a lot about, because even though I've been budgeting during the time since brands started sending me stuff for review on my channel, and I've been like thinking about, and I did make a whole video about the way that my budget still mattered to me and the way that it was still acting on me, even when I was receiving things in the mail from brands. Again, this is the first time that I've ever done like a no-buy with PR. And so I have been watching myself kind of closely and trying to pay really close attention to the way that it's affecting me and the way that it's affecting my no-buy experience. The one thing that's really different for me now compared to my original no-buy, or like the beginning of my original no-buy year, is that stuff still comes in the mail. I'm on a no-buy, but stuff is still coming. Packages with my name on them are still arriving in the mail. These 3 months are not like a desert of packages, the way that my no-buy year in 2018 was, and the way that your no-buy might be if you are doing a no-buy. It's not a desert of newness, like a desert of new stuff. And that's real. That's very different. The deprivation basically isn't as stark as it would be if I didn't have a YouTube channel. But, and I knew this before, but I've been noticing it even more because I've been watching myself really clearly. I'm watching myself really carefully as it happens. The stuff that comes in the mail from brands, the packages that are coming during this time when I'm not buying anything for myself, it's not always as welcome as you might think that it would be. It's stuff. And I'm not really all about stuff. I tried to do a whole year of less stuff. And I think that receiving free stuff now for 2 years as part of this work on YouTube has kind of made me numb to especially lots of stuff, like the excitement that can sometimes surround, especially free stuff. It's also work. It represents for me tasks that must be done. And a lot of times when something comes in the mail and it's from a brand, what it represents for me is work, more work. And a lot of times the work that has to be done is assessing the thing, deciding whether or not I'm going to even use it, deciding whether or not I'm even going to open it and review it and test it. And then if I am going to open it and test it, deciding how I'm going to incorporate it into my content and deciding what I'm going to say about it. And then once that's done, deciding how I'm going to dispose of it. Those are all of the tasks often that are represented by something coming in the mail. And a lot of times it's not even in exchange for me keeping the thing. It's just work. The dopamine rush that I get from a package coming in the mail, which is very much still there. This is another way in which it's really different from my no-buy year, right? when a package comes in PR, even if it's something that I really don't want, it still creates the chemical rush. And that's the thing that it's not a desert of. Like, I'm not looking forward to April and being like, there's going to be 3 months without ever feeling that dopamine rush of getting a package in the mail. Because packages will come in the mail from brands and I'll get that dopamine rush. But the thing that I've noticed is that that dopamine rush also isn't really as welcome as you might think that it would be, because it's not commensurate with the thing, it's like, it's kind of impotent. That's the word I was looking for. It's kind of impotent because the thing will come, my chemicals will react, and then I'll open it and it's like the Urban Decay Naked Wild West palette, or like something that I really didn't want. It's complicated. It's a challenge because this aspect of my work is all mixed up with this part of myself that I'm trying to protect and heal. So that's what I've observed myself going through upon receipt of packages, that it always feels exciting, like when something lands on the doorstep, even when the thing inside is itself totally unwelcome. So I have the benefit of that excitement, but then it's sort of like doesn't go anywhere and makes me feel weird. I still have very strong motivations for budgeting and really strong motivations, really strong practical motivations for sticking to the no buy that I'm currently on. If I didn't have a budget, I would be spending unwisely, spending too much of my money on beautiful things, possibly spending myself back into oblivion, no matter how much beautiful stuff came in PR. I just would. I know myself. I'd be spending myself into oblivion on stuff that I wanted way more than I want the stuff that comes in PR. This seasonal budgeting and spending, the fact that I'm on a no buy right now, I'm doing it to save my own life. I'm doing it for myself because I want to be happy and I want to make wiser decisions around spending and I want to really love what I own. I'm not doing it to create content. I'm not doing it for my channel. I'm just reporting back about it in this video because I want to, because this year I'm filming what I love and I want to film a check-in about how this is going because I'm excited about it because it's working. The seasonal budgeting and seasonal spending and the intermittent 3-month no buys, even though we're only a month and a half into the year, so far it really seems like it's working. And I'm not telling you what to do. I mean, I think that that's one of the great things about filming what I love this year is that it's really helping me to just let you know how it's going. Like, that's all I'm doing. I'm telling you about my life and you can apply it however you want. Your circumstances are likely different from mine in either a lot of ways or a few key ways. And so you'll just have to, take this information about me and adjust it to fit yourself if you so choose. But my main takeaway is that I'm really starting to hope that I've struck gold with this way of managing my personal shopping, this seasonal thing where I have like a week and then 3 months, a week and then 3 months. I feel like it really suits my nature and I am way happier with it than I was. I never felt this way. I never felt like, whoa, I feel like I've really struck gold. I never felt that way in 2019 during my year of monthly budgets. And I never felt that way in 2020, my year of having a yearly budget either. I never felt this way where I'm like, oh, this is really fitting. I might be wrong because I can only ever estimate this, but I strongly suspect that this would be true even if I wasn't on YouTube. I really feel like it fits fundamentally with like how I want to be. And I'm hoping, again, we're only a month and a half or like 2 months into the year, but I'm hoping that it either is or is like a version of what could become a lifelong practice. It really feels that way to me right now. My budgets in 2019 and 2020 felt more stressful. The really great thing about this is that I feel so unstressed about my choices. Like, I felt really unstressed about the shopping when I was doing it, and I feel really unstressed in between. My budgets in 2019 and 2020 felt more stressful. There was always a lot of decision-making and angst going on. This really feels like a keeper, especially the part, I think the thing that really makes it feel sustainable is the part about determining the mini budget at the time of spending it rather than determining it in advance, because that makes it very flexible, like vastly flexible and applicable far into the future. So overall, I'm feeling very optimistic. And I'm continuing to watch myself like a hawk. If anything changes, I will report back. Thank you for understanding that I can only do my best at really understanding what I'm going through as I'm going through it. That was always the sticky thing about the check-ins. This is kind of a check-in, and so it's the sticky thing right now. I'm making myself very vulnerable to you by letting you know what I'm going through as I'm going through it, because there's always a risk there that you aren't going to quite get it right, that you'll learn more about yourself as you move into your future, and then you'll wish you could go back and kind of tailor what you've said. So thank you for appreciating that. I hope that this was fruitful for you to watch. I hope that it all made sense. I thank you so much for being here, and I really, really hope that you're remembering to take extra good care of yourself right now so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.